Thank you all for tuning in to this edition of El Cafecito. My name is Aaron Espinoza. I'm an inclusion and engagement leader with the Multicultural Office. With us today, we have Dr. Norton with the Political Science Department today. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Great start to the day. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and get started. So,
Okay.
what current trend makes no sense to you?
TikTok.
Really? What about it? How so?
I just don't get it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm not one of those who does a lot of social media stuff because of my restrictions of also having a law license. There's rules about that. But I just don't get all of this TikTok stuff and all of this animosity and hate in it.
It's very wild how invested we can get into these kind of things, and at the end of the day,
Yes.
it's nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it's really amazing to people how you can become addicted to
Yeah.
something like social media or your cell phone or something like that, but it actually does. Your mind does get feeling that you're missing something by not doing it.
Yeah.
So it is a very real addiction people are dealing with.
But I would have never thought about it. And it's why I guess it's something that's so new, as a concept as well, that we don't think of, we're not conditioned to think of it as that way. So yet, anyway. Awesome.
Yeah, and I will tell my students this. I like, turn off your phone,
Mm-hmm.
walk away from it for a while. Does it bother you? Okay, and maybe you've got a cell phone addiction,
and it's
or maybe Facebook addiction. Does it really bother you?
It's very liberating too if you can stay away from it. At least in my experience, it's very liberating.
Yeah, because it's kind of my deal. Like getting out into nature, I like. Okay, I can turn it off.
Yeah,
I can be quiet.
What's the most ridiculous thing you've bought?
This one's a bit embarrassing.
Oh no!
When you ask me this, I have an extremely expensive designer evening gown that I've never worn.
I think it is my personal belief that we are allowed to treat ourselves. So
I bought it for a particular event, and then I got sick and couldn't go to it.
Oh no!
And I bought it like 20 years ago. I mean, it's still very fashionable, but it's very sexy, and my sexy years are way behind me. So it's like, I know I'll never wear it, but I can't bring myself
to part with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love this dress. And I was like, God, I spent a lot of money on that. Chanel ain't cheap.
Oh no, by no means at all. I guess we're kind of going back to that addiction thing. Are there any apps on your phone that you can't seem to live without?
Unfortunately, Amazon. SCOTUS, and SCOTUS blog. Doing my law stuff, I'm just constantly checking SCOTUS blog. So that's kind of my addiction, is checking what are the courts doing today.
Very important.
Yeah.
I believe I may have actually skipped one. What are some tips and tricks you've picked up on the job?
Okay. One of the things that people need to keep in mind is having any kind of a job, self-discipline and organization. We can't harp on it enough. When I was practicing law, when I'm being a professor, whatever, you've got to keep yourself to a schedule and organized, okay? But then you also need to give yourself some downtime.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need some relaxing time. So yeah, I do turn things off at night. Yeah, I'm not answering students' emails at midnight. I'm sorry, I just turned it off. Okay. And when I was practicing law, because you want to always be there for your client, that's one of the things that causes a whole lot of stress and causes a whole lot of burnout, is because you feel you have to be there 24/7, 365. And you finally learn, like, sometimes I just have to tell my clients, yeah, I'm going on a vacation. If you need something, talk to this person, or it just has to wait, because you need recharge time.
And I mean, even so, in the current state that we're in with the, the elephant in the room, it's very easy to forget how important mental health is, with that turning it off. So I'm 100% with you there.
And I think a lot of people, since they're working from home or doing their classes from home, they're not having that separation. So they're not like, okay, now I'm in school mode, now I'm in work mode, now I'm in home mode. So they're kind of mixing it up. So I'm not sure. They're either blowing off everything
Yeah.
because they're at home, or they're not really relaxing. So
Mm-hmm.
they're staying in work or school mode all the time.
What interesting hobbies do you have, if any?
Um, when I can,
Uh,
in this current situation, I can't. I'm one of those nature girls. I like to get out there and go hiking and, you know, when I can, camping, all that sort of stuff. I love going out
mhm.
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
I think, I think traditional, you know, there's what would be considered glamping today. I think
Mhm.
everyone should have to go, you know, traditional camping, you know, like rough it in a tent, campfire kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's amazing.
Yeah. 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 I'm afraid my tent days are getting behind me because I'm like, hey, I'm at the facilities, you know, I'm getting to be an old lady. You know? But I don't need, you know, the really fancy stuff. But I just like to,
Get away.
it relaxes me and helps refresh me to just get out and just
Mhm.
kind of be grounded into the earth. I know that sounds corny, but that's sort of the way it is.
Oh no, I agree with you.
Mhm.
What is the most interesting documentary you've ever watched?
I'd have to say the series Cosmos.
Yes, it's
Um, I
very
find that fascinating. Either the old one with Carl Sagan or the new one with,
uh
I'm embarrassed to say I forgot his name.
yeah.
But anyway, the new one, either one of them, I like trying to figure out all of the physics and how everything kind of fits together. And people think it's very, very strange, but my idea is everything is in balance, whether you're going from the cosmos or you're going from interpersonal relationships and stuff, you know, in law, it's all balancing. And so the more that you can see that the whole, everything needs to be in some sort of a balance,
Hmm.
you you get a little more used to, hey, trying to achieve that balance in your own life and in the world around you.
You know, honestly, I thought it was the only one with that philosophy in mind, you know, that everything in existence has some sort of balance to it, you know. And I just
There,
thought people called me crazy for it. I'm like, no, there's like it's either this or that. And I'm like, and I
no,
like to try to understand things, you know, as best as I can anyway. But yeah.
yeah, particularly like in a democracy like ours, where
Mhm.
everyone has an equal voice, well, we have to try to balance all of those
Yeah.
feelings and stuff like that. You can't just keep trying to squash somebody up.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Um, 30 sec. We're gonna go ahead and do a 30-second challenge. The way this will work is, to the best of your ability, try to answer the question within 30 seconds. If not, totally fine. But it's really cool if you can. What really needs to be modernized and why?
You set myself up with this one. The Electoral College. I am not a fan of the Electoral College.
Yes.
I am not a fan of the way it works right now. The founders did it and they said,
Mhm.
because we don't trust the regular person, so I think it should be gotten rid of so that we do a direct elections for everybody.
Mhm.
Secondly, they did not set it up the way it is now of winner take all, so you only have to get a few high populated states and ignore
Mhm.
the rest of the country.
Mhm.
They thought of it as being a percentage between people,
Mhm.
because they had set it up for top vote getter becomes president, second becomes vice president. Okay.
Mhm.
So by doing this winner take all and everything, it's pushed us to this really hyper partisan political stuff, and I don't think it's good.
I Again, I have to agree with you
On
on
my
that.
soapbox.
And I get hate for it all the time. Like, well, da 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 this, and then I kind of like explain to, especially with my family, they're like, well, you know, this is the majority's idea, and I'm like, well, what if you were on the other side of that, you know, issue? Would you
Mhm.
consider it fair? You know, you're not getting, you know, represented the way you should if, you know, your electors are blatantly ignoring your, you know, what you choose. And I'm like, and that's, yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, we have had several times in history, including
Mhm.
the last election, where the popular vote is not who was voted in. It was the Electoral College. So you know, it's, I think the American public is educated enough. We directly elect everything else. I don't think it's a proper thing to do.
Yes.
Particularly when the founder said, because we think you're a bunch of ignorant idiots. I mean, they came right out and said it.
I think we've kind of transcended that, at least to some extent.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, anyway. What's the most ironic thing you've seen happen?
Pass.
Okay, totally fine.
Mine's just blank on that one. I'm sure at 3 a.m. I'll come up with something and I'll call
Yeah,
you.
like, oh, no worries at all.
Yeah, no, that one's just, okay,
Yeah.
right over my head.
Okay, what was something you thought would be horrible, but actually turned out to be great?
My first trial.
Okay.
You know, it's very, very nerve-wracking doing that, you know, and I was just out of school, just licensed. And I just had all these nightmares, and I was sure I was going to lose. I had a terrible case, but I won.
Great.
Like the jury came back and I went, "You're kidding me." It was like, "Did you see the same stuff I did?" Okay, thank you. Goodbye. I'm getting out of here before anybody changes their mind.
I think I think we often forget that we're our own, worst critics. It's like we don't give ourselves enough. At least for me, I'm very doubtful of myself. So they're like, "No, go ahead and talk in front of this crowd." I'm like, "Huh? You want me to do that? You think I'm qualified?"
Yeah. Try it when you're a litigation attorney and everything's being written down, and you go to read it later and you're like, "Hey, I thought I was brilliant on this," and it's like, "That's horrible."
Oh no.
You mispronounced. I really wasn't that bad. It's embarrassing.
All right. In 3 words, describe yourself to us.
I'm very introverted. I'm a very shy person. I'm extremely curious. If I could be a professional student and just study everything in the world and go everywhere, I would. Okay, just give me the money to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of the things I don't like about myself, I tend to be pedantic. If you get me on a subject I like the law,
yes,
I will talk your ear off. I mean, I will go on forever, and I'll see people's eyes glazing over. It's like, "Okay, Brenda, you've been giving a lecture for 30 minutes on the law. Let's ease it up now."
I think I definitely, what's the word? Not empathize, relate to the idea of wanting to just this idea of curiosity, I mean, I guess it's totally a different perspective for me coming into college as a first-generation student, and I'm being told I have to pick just one thing. I'm like, but so many things interest me. I want to learn about physics, engineering, and nope, you got to pick one thing.
No, and that's why I just keep studying and doing different things. I mean, people think I'm weird. I will go to the textbook section of a bookstore and just buy books. And people are like, "You just read textbooks for fun?" Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Right. I'm a nerd. I just think the world's fascinating.
There's so much that, that's out there that's just ready to be and you may be that person that, you can come to it with fresh eyes and, "Hey, why haven't y'all tried this?" And suddenly it's a breakthrough in science.
And it does help me a lot because you see more and more that's interconnected. And the balance thing and everything else. And it's like, you know what? It's all kind of the same stuff. It's just on different scales.
Yeah.
So it helps you kind of understand the world better, I think.
What bit of trivia do you know that is interesting, but also useless?
A group of cats is called a clouder.
Clouder?
Like a herd of cattle, a murder of crows. It's a clouder of cats.
Interesting. I would have.
That's weird.
I would have never known that.
Now you can go on Jeopardy.
Oh, there we go. What is the best advice you have specifically for first-generation students?
Seek help. I see a lot of students who are just afraid to admit, I've got a question, I need to ask help or something like that. That's not what college is like. I understand that when, you know, you were K through 12, you were kind of pulled back. But college, you need to say, hey, I need you to go back over this. I need to go to supplemental instruction. I don't understand this or that. We rely on the students to tell us. If you're just silent, we just assume you got it. Okay. So don't let it bother you. Don't let it, you think that, hey, there's something deficient about me because I have a question. Ask. We really, really want you to ask. And then also, I find a lot of students, particularly here at ASU, have trouble saying no. They have so many different demands on them. Sitting down and having a hard conversation with family or with work or something like that, of just saying, I just really can't take on more. There is a calculation you do for how you spend your time during the week. And if you get up to more than 56 hours a week, and that's all of your regular stuff, like, you know, sleeping, eating, everything else, plus your work, plus your school, studying time, if you're over 56 hours with that, you're in trouble. Okay.
Wow.
And, you know, a 3-hour class means you're spending 3 hours in the classroom, twice that studying. A lot of students don't understand that. Okay? So, yeah, let us know when you need help. We really are here to help you.
I think you're very correct, and that's a very important point. And you know, I think, I mean, as for college students who go up through their college career, they keep hearing it over and over and again. But it's like I think we forget how important it is. I know for me anyway, what's the word? Imposter syndrome. I struggle with imposter syndrome, considering myself, you know, am I competent enough? Am I just like by sheer luck in where I'm at by right now? And I just have to remind myself, no, you're here for a specific purpose. Don't be afraid, you know, ask what you need. And yeah, like I still have issues with like, okay, go ask them. They're not going to bite you.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully understand about that, being a woman having practiced law, that imposter syndrome thing of like, am I really supposed to be in here and talking to this federal judge? So yeah, but do ask us. We really are here to help.
What would be we're kind of changing pace here. What
Yeah.
would be some downsides of certain superpowers?
Well, if I'm sitting there fixing dinner, I don't want that spider web shooting out all over my dinner I'm cooking. That can be like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I'm sitting there going, nah, I don't want that stuff shooting out my wrist all over the place. You know? Trying to eat my hamburger and it's like got spider webs all over.
It's ruined.
Yeah.
Another 30-second challenge. What languages do you wish you could speak, and why?
Well, first there's one I've studied previously, French, and I've let it sort of slide. So I really kind of wish I'd get it back up. Italian.
Okay.
Just because I like France and Italy. And Danish.
Okay.
That's where, you know, the ancestral roots are and stuff like that. So it's one of the places that's on my wish list to go to, and I'd like to be able to talk to people there and stuff. And I have been told I still have family there, but you know, it's like 18th cousin twice removed or something like that. You know.
Still cool though. Still very cool. Fun one. What's something that absolutely everyone in the entire world can agree on?
These days? The sun is hot.
Yes, there we go. It's hot.
That's about all I think these days. Woo!
A hard one, huh?
Yeah.
What is your best childhood memory?
It's also one of my earliest, camping in Yellowstone. I still have very, very vivid memories of it. And the first time my family was there, I was just like 3 or 4 years old. I still have very vivid memories of how beautiful it is, and all of the hot mud and the geysers. And I
Mhm.
still remember one pool, there was this most beautiful blue.
Uh-huh.
And it's still to me like the most perfect color. And I remember standing there going, if I could jump into that and just be surrounded by all that blue, I would be happy forever. Now, I
Yeah.
know that's not true because it was boiling water, but, and,
Still.
and I still will come back to that when I'm trying to calm myself down. I'll just think about that whole blue. And
Uh-huh.
so, I mean, it's still, and I was only like 3, 4 years old, and it's still very vivid to me how beautiful that was.
That's a wonderful, I really like that idea, the idea of that blueness, always drawing back to it. That's beautiful.
Mhm.
What would you consider as your biggest phobia?
Anything venomous.
Venomous?
I have nightmares
Uh-huh.
getting bit by a brown recluse spider or
Oh,
a
no.
rattlesnake or
Uh-huh.
a jellyfish, like I was diving in Australia and it was like, oh God, there's a box jellyfish, get me out of
We have to
here.
get away now.
Yeah. So yeah, the thought of dying that venomous way is really, oh,
Uh,
ugh.
what habit do you have now that you wish you had started much earlier?
Good eating habits.
Yeah, I think that goes for everybody, honestly.
I was, particularly when I was still doing ballet, I ate anything and everything I wanted. I didn't have to worry about it, and I was a stick. And then you hit 40. Trust me, it's coming.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
That's a
I
tough
was
one.
sort of like, yeah, I'd still really like a lot of hamburgers and fries. And it's like, nope, carrots and celery. Oh,
Oh.
great. That's fun.
uh, what life skills are rarely taught but extremely useful?
Housekeeping.
Yes, by all means.
Don't know how to take care of the house and do the laundry. It's like, how can you people survive without these skills?
Pe- People call me crazy, but I wildly enjoy doing laundry.
Good,
It's
I'll send it over.
it's very comforting to me, and I don't understand why. It's just I can lose myself in it. Okay, let's fold the shirt, put the
Yeah.
socks together. It's wild.
You can see a task being completed
Ye-
and clean clothes, clean, like I love changing the sheets. Clean sheets, clean towels. It's like, yes, this is great.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of y'all don't know how to do your
Oh
housekeeping.
no. I wish I could be better at it, honestly. Uh, what scientific discovery would change the course of humanity overnight?
That we've already had as a scientific discovery or have in the future.
In the future, anything you can think of.
Oh, well, particularly now that we got wildfires and hurricanes,
Uh,
controlling the weather.
I
If there's, those things from science fiction where somebody does this thing to control
Yes,
the weather, it's like, that would be great.
honestly,
And then we could, let's send some of this rain over here and figure
yes,
this
exactly. And it would, if you look at it from a different, perspective, we could manipulate weather patterns to help, crops, minerals, things like that, things we need.
Yeah, you could make it so that you had perfect growing condition for crops, so
Mhm,
that would help out with hunger and blah 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 blah
mhm,
blah blah.
so on and so on.
Yeah,
uh, what movie or book do you know the most quotes from?
this is embarrassing. Casablanca.
There, it's all right, totally fine.
Um, to me, it's the perfect thing about relationships, but it's also the perfect thing about things going on in the world and us figuring out which side to be on and when to get engaged and when not to get engaged.
I
I
think
just watched that movie over and over and over again.
mhm. There's beauty in certain kinds of movies. Like, for example, I'm a very big Quentin Tarantino fan. I enjoy Kill Bill. I enjoy the philosophy that he uses the analogy of two samurais always fighting. That once one may kill his opponent, the other would go on and cease to die not long after. We live so long trying to chase um, this
Dream.
goal, this
Yeah.
golden dream that once we achieve it, we're not. We constantly think of our lives as prequels to something that, oh, once I do this or once I do that, my life will begin, instead of not being present within the present.
Uh-huh.
And I admire that, at least in that respect.
Yeah. And that's one of my embarrassing movies to love is Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
I mean, I'm kind of like embarrassed to admit I adore that movie, particularly when they jam the
Yeah.
needle in the person's chest and
Yes.
stuff. And it's like, oh, please don't admit to people that you love this movie, because it's just, it's warped.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
and they accidentally shoot the gun. It's
Uh,
just, I'll break out laughing and I'll be like, oh, do I need to go see a therapist?
yeah,
Yeah.
why is this?
Yeah.
um, what songs hit you with a wave of nostalgia every time you hear it?
Anything by the Eagles,
Okay,
which is showing you how old I am.
no.
That is my youth. That is high school and college is the big time of the Eagles. So any of their songs, and I've been to numerous ones of their concerts over the years, and
That's awesome.
yeah.
What topic could you spend hours talking about?
Oh, come on, you know this one.
Yeah.
Law. I'll talk law till the cows come home. Yep. Anything about the law.
At least from my perspective, especially taking your class, both federal and Texas, I've enjoyed it, and it's funny too, because I will watch things like Law and Order and Criminal Minds like that. And I kind of like, as I'm watching the show, I like kind of run it through a fact check. I'm like, well, what did Dr. Norton say? I'm like, okay, that kind of checks out.
Yeah. Some of them are pretty accurate, like Law and Order, and then like there are ones like Perry Mason that I can't watch. I just want to scream at the TV. It's like, everything is wrong.
Yeah, you can't do that.
It's sort of like medical people watching hospital shows. It's,
Yeah,
I can't watch them.
yeah. Um, who in your life seems to have the best or worst luck?
Worst luck is my brother.
Mm-hmm.
He has a long-term degenerative issue. And each time kind of feel like getting a grip on it, and he's going to be able to get back to work, get out to things, then it falls back down. It's just, people with long degenerative illnesses, they just have a difficult life. And, you almost get to the point where you're just kind of waiting for the release.
Yeah.
And just to see somebody that you care about go through that for 20, 30 years is just really, really hard. Not that we're both depressed.
But yeah, no, I commend your bravery and also your brother's bravery. That's very, and I think
it's hard. It's really hard. Okay, so something more fun.
What are some clever examples of misdirection you've seen before?
You're asking a lawyer? Come on, that's what we do.
Oh no.
I mean, all kinds of things in the courtroom. Of, leading a witness, like step 1, 2, 3, 4, and then suddenly you drop them off a cliff. And they're just like, oh, how did I just admit I lied? Well, you just did, or something like that. Or how did I just admit that I am at fault? And it's just like, it's when you're a lawyer in litigation, it's like, that's beautiful. But when you're outside of it, you go, that's not very nice. It's like, hey, I got to the truth.
From a utilitarianistic perspective, I very much admire the skills of lawyers being able to kind of like, gotcha.
Yeah, we can lead you down that garden path right off the cliff.
All right, so truth or dare?
Okay. Let's see. One is truth.
Truth. All right. What is one thing you would never do, even if someone offered you all the money in the world?
No, murder another person.
Yeah.
I couldn't live with it. The thought of hurting another, just no. I'm a non-violent pacifist. Yeah. I understand other people need to do that, but like, thank you, I'm out.
And it's very, we're going back to that whole philosophy thing. We never know what we would do when presented a certain situation, but like, I mean, for example, very popular movie, The Hunger Games. It's like, you think of like, what if I was a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid put into a gladiatorial death match?
Mhm.
There's no, at such an age,
Yeah.
what would I do? What would I become? What would I turn into trying to survive? And I agree with you, at least in the sense that I think it would be more of a conditional
Mhm.
setting, but at the same time, there's no way the idea of putting myself in that situation is very frightening to me. And any, real life, I couldn't think of harming someone.
Yeah. And so like I'm sitting here and it's just like, hey, you can have $1 billion. It's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
But say I'm in the Sudan,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, say I'm someplace else, say I see someone being attacked or something like that. I see those as kind of different situations that you've got to deal with the situation in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
rather than, hey, I'm sitting here at a nice desk, I have a house, I have
Mm-hmm.
food. It's just money.
Yeah.
It's just not worth that to my conscience and
Mm-hmm.
that whole karma thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Exactly.
not worth it.
What's the most overrated product on the market?
I was just complaining about this the other day. Those little pop thingies that they stick on the back of phones for like carrying them around. I'm like, put it away.
See, I will fidget. I used to have one of those. I would sit there and fidget with it until it broke. Now that I've kind of elected to have just kind of like a rubber band, and that works just as
I
fine.
have students that sit there and just are playing with it, and I'm just like, put it away. You don't have to have the phone in your hand every minute of every day.
Uh-huh. What's your personal philosophy?
Um, Treat others as you would like them to treat you.
Mm-hmm.
Treat yourself as you would like others to treat you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the meanest person is us to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Um, and this is also where I fail most. I lose my temper. I
Yeah.
get crabby. Okay. And I'm always like, nothing's ever good enough. If I get a report and 95% of it is good, I'll look at the 5% that's not good. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's one of those that I really struggle with myself, but I think that is really, really important for being community, to
Mm.
continually work just to be more understanding and kind.
Yeah. I think as a species, we need to realize we're very fluid beings. We're never
Mhm.
constantly changing. So, like you said, it's just that constant maintenance and work.
Yeah. Okay.
What seemingly innocent question makes you think it's a trap?
This one's too telling. Do you love me?
Oh no. you know, that 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 that's a scary one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
uh,
Well, yeah, yeah,
there
that
you
one's
go.
hard.
What what is legal now, but probably won't be within the next 25 years?
um, High capacity weapons
Oh, I
by
could see
individual ownership,
that. Mm-hmm.
and also not having registration or training for certain types of weapons. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can have them, but perhaps
But have
doing,
the level of qualification.
uh, yeah, doing some sort of psychiatric exam, making you take a safety course that's a real meaningful safety course, that sort of thing. I
Mm-hmm.
think because we keep having events, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not, I'm not trying to take them away. I'm just trying to say that you need some sort of training with it. You have to get training to drive the car.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have some training for those things
Mm-hmm.
and checking to make sure there's some sort of psychiatric stability there.
Mm-hmm. Which I may be throwing myself to the wolves, but I 100% agree, as far as about
Yeah,
the
I mean,
the psychiatric aspect, yes, very much so.
yeah,
Which,
I mean, it is a dangerous item and you do need to be careful with it. I
yeah,
mean, there's
exactly.
reason why some people cannot purchase dynamite. I mean, you have to have training and licenses,
Yeah.
okay? So yeah, you can have it, but we've made sure that you're okay with it.
I actually had a discussion with my family about, I mentioned gun control. oh no, gun control this, gun control that. It's like you've been demonized by that phrase. What I mean is gun regulation.
Yeah.
It's just that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things is people are taking things to two extreme sides
Mhm.
rather than actually meeting in the middle and actually having a meaningful conversation with each other. We're out of balance. We're not looking at what we have in common and what common things we can have and what sensible, rational things.
Mhm.
We're just completely, oh, I'm stuck on my side and you can't
Yeah,
figure it out. So
exactly. What's the biggest realization you've had about yourself?
this also came out of practicing law. One of the things with a lot of people practicing law, and they do it, you can make a whole lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But you also have to spend a whole lot of hours
Mm-hmm.
doing it. And it is a whole lot of stress. Um, and I realized with all that stress and with all of those hours, I don't need the big mansion. I don't need the luxury car. Okay. And I don't need to be advertising that I'm the best at this or that. I mean, if I'm doing a good job, I'm okay. If I can pay my bills, I'm okay.
That
If
level.
you want to be,
Mm-hmm.
doing all of this stuff and driving yourself crazy, go ahead. But 24/7, 365, no.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. I've slept on the floor of my office before.
Uh-huh.
I've taken the sponge baths in the sink in the bathroom, no, I'm done.
Yeah. It's just reaching a level of contentment that's not past our own limitations.
Yeah. And it's just what's important to me isn't to be known as the best or the richest. It's, hey,
Yeah.
I'm doing my clients fine. And of course that's part of the turn to teaching rather than doing the practicing the law is,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm still doing the legal stuff, but I'm perfectly fine with this.
Mm-hmm. What's the worst mistake a student can make when emailing their professor?
No, this is a pet peeve. And you heard this from me before. I have 250 to 300 students a semester. And most other professors have lots and lots of students. And we're teaching 4 or 5, I teach 6 classes a semester, okay? If the student just says, hi, I'm in your class, which class?
Yeah.
Okay? I'm gonna have to go looking you up. And even if they say, hey, I'm in your federal government, right now I'm teaching 4 federal government classes, okay? Be specific with your professor. I am in your Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. class, or I'm in your federal government section so-and-so. Whether they have as many students as I do or not, they still need to know specifically which class you're in.
Yes. I know for me, at least in my very immediate experience, I'm ecstatic when a professor answers me like right away. I'm like, yes, you weren't busy. I assumed you were busy, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
very.
do try to get back to you at least within 24 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't answer emails at midnight.
Yeah.
If you get an email from me at 3 a.m., it's because I can't sleep. So yeah. Otherwise, it's 8 to 5.
When was a time you acted nonchalant, but were actually going crazy inside?
Anytime I stepped into a courtroom. You always are sitting there going, I've got this. And you're like inside, you're going, oh, can I leave? They're going to hate me. They're going to throw things at me. I'm never going to work again. I'm going to get sued. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Every attorney that tells you, no, I'm fine when I go into court, they're lying. It's nerve-wracking.
All right, so really serious question now. I'm going to ask for the utmost, seriousness with this. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Why or why not?
Well, I'm going to give you the lawyer's answer. It depends upon the statutes in the area where they're trying to sell a hot dog or a sandwich. I know, like organizations, sandwich makers and hot dog makers, have come out with their own theories about this sort of stuff. But yeah, the lawyer's answer is check the jurisdiction you're in and see how they define it for what license you need.
I would have never, I think it's a funny question I include, and it throws, when we interview students or organizational leaders, it throws them off. They're like, well, I don't know. No. I'm like, I would have never thought about it like that, like in all seriousness.
See what happens to you when you go to law school. It depends. What does the law say? Yeah.
And you know what? I can appreciate that. All right. So finally, we've come to the conclusion. Who would you like to nominate for the next edition of El Cafecito?
I don't know if you've had him on yet, but Manny Campos?
Yes, we actually have.
Okay, you've probably already had him, haven't you? Okay. Have you had Susanna Badiola?
I actually did reach out to her. She's unfortunately has too many obligations this semester. So.
Okay. Yeah. Those are the two that come to mind the quickest for me.
No worries. we try to, get a wide-reaching branch of people, and that's what's great. We get all these people with differing perspectives, ideas on things, and it's fun. But we kind of go into a lot of different things. But wonderful.
This has been fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And anytime you need anything, I'm happy to help.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for tuning into this edition of El Cafecito. Be sure to tune in next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.